Lamb chops, egg hunts, and church. My Easter was about the same. But at the White House, it was a little different.
Do you remember the bunny with Joe Biden? Remember? Do you remember when the bunny took Joe Biden out? He's not taking Trump out. Anyway, that was a beautiful moment when the bunny saved Joe Biden.
The Easter bunny wasn't body checking the president away from the press. Kids weren't being sniffed. And there were real eggs. 30,000 of them were scattered on the South Lawn. Egg prices are down. It's what Jesus would have wanted. And President Trump was moved by the Holy Spirit to say this on Sunday, quote, "Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and the mentally insane and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into the country." Democrats spent all weekend hunting for the wrong eggs. They're looking for one bad HUEVO in El Salvador, and more Democrats hopped on the caravan caucus and headed south.
After a long day, we have arrived in El Salvador. I am here with several of my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump release Kilmar Abrego Garcia, union member, Maryland man who was wrongfully detained and deported.
We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
We're also here to make a statement that this cannot be allowed and isn't allowed in our country.
This is a massive due process crisis in our country.
So instead of spending Easter Sunday with their families, Democrats went on an egg hunt in El Salvador to undeport an illegal alien gang member accused of beating his wife. They could have spent Easter Sunday anywhere, but they wanted to spend it with MS-13.
You are there for an El Salvadorian man who was a resident illegally of Maryland. You're a congressman from Florida. Why are you in El Salvador?
Well, we're here because a man who had protected status in Maryland, a Maryland man, union member, worker with a citizen wife and beautiful children, was taken out of his state and out of the United States back over here without due process.
Just your run-of-the-mill union member who traffics humans from Texas to Maryland for a construction job, allegedly. Kilmar Garcia is like Zelensky. Politicians are flying in from all over the world to get a photo op. Garcia's defense attorneys bought him a non-threatening short-sleeve button-down that screams Maryland dad at a summer barbecue. Sources say Van Hollen insisted on soup. He didn't want Garcia holding a knife or fork. Van Hollen also insisted he didn't order the margaritas. He got duped by El Presidente of El Salvador. Democrats loved the attention Van Hollen got, and they were convinced Kilmar was safe enough to have Easter dinner with. Problem was, Garcia had plans.
Is there any chance you'll be meeting with Abrego Garcia while you're there?
We got word at the embassy that our request has been denied by the government here locally. They say it's because we're not here on an official capacity, but we're not giving up. We're going to continue. We're building off of the trip of Senator Van Hollen, and we're not the first members here, and we're not going to be the last.
Democrats are like, you guys broke into our country. We should be able to break into yours. But they didn't have the right paperwork. It's funny how that works in other countries. So this isn't an official delegation. It's basically a few politicians on vacation. Van Hollen made it back from his margarita date with Kilmar just in time for Easter, and we got stuck with the bill.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
So instead of seeing his family, Van Hollen spent the weekend doing Sunday shows, bragging about his conjugal visit with MS-13. Honey, it's Easter Sunday. The kids really want to spend some time with you, and you've been gone all week. Do you have to spend Easter on TV? Republicans are calling Van Hollen the new senator from El Salvador. And the esteemed senator from El Salvador is proud of it. Gavin Newsom, who knows a thing or two about photo ops, says enough already.
Governor Gavin Newsom of California calling Mr. Abrego Garcia's case, quote, the distraction of the day. He argues Democrats are playing right into the hands of President Trump, an issue he wants to be focused on. How do you respond to Governor Newsom?
I think Americans are tired of elected officials or politicians who are all finger to the wind, what's blowing this way, what's blowing that way. And anybody who can't stand up for the Constitution and the right of due process doesn't deserve to lead.
When did Kilmar Garcia change his name to Due Process? Was it right around the time Democrats discovered he was MS-13? Last week, they were defending a Maryland man.
The Trump administration abducted and imprisoned a Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man.
A Maryland man.
Maryland man.
The growing calls to return the Maryland man.
That Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The wrongful deportation of a Maryland man to El Salvador.
He is, of course, the Maryland man now held in El Salvador.
What happened to the Maryland man? Well, he became MS-13 who gave his wife black eyes, allegedly. That's when Democrats stopped defending MS-13. Now they're defending due process for MS-13. The party that brought us cancel culture, the Me Too movement, and the Trump trials definitely cares about due process. Democrats have decided they want to be defense attorneys for MS-13. Americans hate MS-13. How do you think we feel about their defense attorneys? So what did Van Hollen talk to his client about when they were sharing marks?
Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject.
Since you were the one person to have met with him, and since this is a thing, you say on social media, it's what we hear from Donald Trump and Republicans every day, all day long, you didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him that because I know what his answer is. What he told me was he was sad, traumatized that he was being in prison because he has committed no crimes.
Van Hollen spent a half hour with Kilmar and never asked, you know those tattoos on your knuckles? Please tell me those aren't MS-13, right? How many Maryland dads do you know have a marijuana leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and a skull tatted on their fingers?
Experts that I spoke to, people that I trust, people that are former gang prosecutors and investigators tell me that those tattoos most likely represent the letters MS and the numbers 1, 3. You take the first letter of the Spanish word representing each, and that's MS, and then you've got a cross commonly representing 1, and the last one is a C in Spanish, and it's the third letter in the alphabet, so that represents the number 3. That is my understanding.
So we asked Garcia's attorney, what's going on with the tats? Why has his wife been covering them all up with emojis and photos? Well, they just got back to us. No idea. Now, Holman says you don't get that kind of tattoo unless you're a bad hombre.
Tattoos are one of many factors that's going to determine someone's gang. It's not the only one. You can't ignore a tattoo. That's one more factor that leads you to believe maybe he's a gang member. It's just not based on tattoos. It's based on a lot of other things, but tattoos one of many. But no one's removed just because of a tattoo.
MSNBC doesn't want you to know that they're defending a guy from MS-13. If you say that on their air, they'll cut you off.
In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse.
We've been watching President Donald Trump there swearing in the new administrator of the CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, Dr. Mehmet Oz.
The media is hiding the truth. And Garcia's lawyer says the truth is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if he slugs his wife, traffics humans, and is a member of a bloodthirsty gang.
They try and find dirty laundry in our client, which really is irrelevant. First of all, their evidence is extraordinarily thin. But even if there was something there, that's really irrelevant.
Democrats say if you don't look at all the evidence, this violent gangster is just a Maryland dad. It's like when they said, if you don't look at all the evidence that the virus came from a lab, it came from a wet market. If you don't look at all the evidence that Biden's senile, then Biden's in great shape. Tampon's daughter says he's not MS-13. Kilmar's more like Jesus.
If Jesus were alive today and in the United States, this administration would have already taken him and removed him from this country without due process. Claimed he was a member of the MS-13 gang as a way to try to justify not giving him due process.
MS-13's being unjustly crucified like Jesus? Kilmar Garcia's dying for the sins of 20 million bad hombres? This isn't about due process. It's about overdue process. You don't skip the process of legally coming here and then demand a process when we kick you out. You can't cut in line to come here and then wait in line to leave. Doesn't work like that. The Democrats are arguing that every illegal alien gang member should get a lawyer and years of hearings and appeals. I'll be retired by the time these guys get deported. And don't worry, I don't plan on retiring soon. The only people who want to slow walk deportations are lawyers, illegals, and Van Hollens. The rest of the country wants them gone, and they don't care where they go. Democrats let foreign gangs invade America, and now they're whining that Trump's deporting them too fast. And the media says anyone who supports deporting illegals is a Nazi.
What did Hitler do? What did Hitler do in the Holocaust? He took people from Germany to other countries.
Yeah.
Where there was no German law. There was not even a pretense of German law. They took them to Poland or, Hungary or whatever, and they killed them.
And so when you see what's happening right now with this El Salvadoran gulag, I mean, this CCOT gulag, he's basically taking a page out of that playbook, you think?
First of all, Matthews looks shipwrecked. And if deporting illegals makes you Hitler, then Barack Obama should have a little mustache. He deported over 3 million illegals, and Matthews got a thrill up his leg. Now, the media says if Trump can deport Latin American gangsters, your daughter is going to get kidnapped from chemistry class.
If they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. And to be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
Trump campaigned on deporting Biden migrants. He won, so he's doing it. Biden never campaigned on opening the borders. He did it and lost. That's democracy. But Jamie Raskin doesn't like that and says if foreign leaders work with a president who wins in a landslide, Democrats are going to punish them.
If and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated, to use a word of the day, who facilitated authoritarianism in our country.
Democrats say Trump's a dictator, and now they're saying just wait until they get back in power? I'm confused. They can't even get their hoaxes straight. Everyone in Maryland says El Salvador can keep this guy. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.